Welcome to this series of videos about the writing process. Most of you probably don't like writing, and like the little guy in the cartoon, he used to hate writing assignments, but he enjoys them now. And the trick is just learning how to write. So we know that you can hopefully learn to enjoy writing as well. There's a couple tips for making the most efficient use of these videos. First, when you click on the play button, always use the return key to advance the slides. Each time you hit the return key, another part of the slide will display. You can take as long as you want to look at each slide. You can start over or just review parts of the slides. You can take notes if that helps you remember details. If you need assistance in using the slideshow feature, please ask for help. You'll be using edmodo.com to complete the writing assignments that go along with this video. So you log on to edmodo.com. You'll register as a new student the first time, and then you will create a username and password. We suggest that you use student ID number. That way you won't forget your login information. If you should not remember your student ID number, we can always look it up for you. The other thing is that once you're logged on to Edmodo, you're going to enter a group code, which is CUZG30. And that will get you to the home page for these assignments. You select the group Washoe ELL-Sites and look for the Assignments button on the left-hand side. Click and go to the first video titled The 5-Step Writing Process. Good luck. Writing well is a skill that has to be learned. You're not born knowing how to write well, but you can learn how to be an excellent writer. And our hope is that you will accomplish that as you go through these series and practice. Understanding the writing process will help you prepare better for the HSPE writing exam. There are 5 steps in the writing process. These are pre-writing, organizing, drafting, revising and editing, and the final draft. In order to remember these 5 steps, we've created what we call an acronym, a series of initials that will help you to recall the 5 steps. That acronym is PODREF, P-O-D-R-E-F, and that stands for P, pre-writing, O, organizing, D, drafting, R, revising, E, editing, and F, final draft. So remember that acronym, PODREF, and you will remember the 5 steps of the writing process. So quick review. What is PODREF? Can you explain what is meant by each letter in the acronym? Post your answer in the assignment section of the edmodo.com page for this course. Okay, step number 1, pre-writing. Before writing, you do these 3 things. Choose a topic or thesis to write about. Unfortunately, on the exams, you are not allowed to choose a topic. You have one selected for you. But when you can choose a topic, think about something that you do know a little bit about so that you have some ideas to work with. Second, you want to brainstorm the ideas that support the thesis or the topic of your paragraph or your essay. Brainstorming means that you just let your mind create any ideas that you can think of that might relate to the topic, and you just write them down in a graphic organizer or on a piece of paper in a list, any way that just gets those ideas out of your head and onto paper. There doesn't have to be any order or rhyme or reason to them in the beginning. Then what you're going to do from those brainstorming ideas is select or focus on 3 or 4 ideas about the topic. The 3 strongest ideas, the ones that most relate to the topic, the ones that you feel you can write more about. Then, here's a little bit of practice for you. Using the topic below, take a few minutes to do some brainstorming. You can make a list of ideas, write the ideas in a graphic organizer, or just write down your thoughts in a random fashion. Here's the topic. Some students drop out of school before they graduate. Your good friend has decided to drop out of school. What would you say to convince your friend this is not a good idea? So stop, take a few minutes, and just on a piece of paper brainstorm about this topic, just to give you a little bit of practice. Second step, organizing. Once you have those ideas brainstormed and on a piece of paper, you have to figure out how to put them into a logical fashion that will create your paragraph or your essay. So making an outline can help you organize what you want to write. Here's a simple essay outline. The first part is the introduction, the thesis or the topic that you're writing about. The second part is the body, which has the supporting ideas or the details that explain more about your topic. And then the third part is the conclusion, where you just summarize what you've said in the introduction and the body of your writing. This can be used as an outline for an essay, which is usually 3 or more paragraphs. It can also be used as an outline for 1 paragraph. Step number 3, drafting. Now it's time to start writing. When beginning your rough draft, remember, first, it doesn't have to be perfect. I don't know how many students I see sit down and try to make a perfect writing paper the first time they do it. You can't. I don't think I know anyone who writes well who ever writes just a perfect paper the first time. You have a draft, you have to change it, you have to edit it, you have to keep changing and editing until you get it perfect. But the first time, no. And if you want to be successful on your proficiency exams, please, please, please remember this point. Do a rough draft first. So make sure your ideas that you're using support the topic, that they're related to the topic that you're writing about. You don't want to have an unrelated idea in your paragraph because that will lose you points when you're being graded. And the other important thing about drafting is don't focus on spelling and grammar at this point. You don't need to. Your spelling and grammar check will come after you have all the writing perfected. Okay, step 4. This is where you do the revising and editing. Once you have your rough draft, maybe you've made 2 or 3 rough drafts, you can then come to the part where you revise and edit. This is where you're going to be looking for ways to improve your essay or your paragraph. First, you're going to look at content and organization. That's the ideas that you've written and the way you've put those ideas down. Are they in a logical fashion, or are they in chronological order if that's what's needed? Do they make sense the way you've put your sentences together? That's the revising. Then the editing is where you look at spelling, grammar, punctuation, sentence structure, things like that. So revising and editing is done on your last draft before you create your perfected paper. Okay, number 5. Take time to think about these questions and write your answers in the Edmodo site for this section. So what are the things you look for when organizing and revising your paragraph? What are the grammar points, spelling rules, and punctuation guidelines that you need to know to edit your paper correctly? If you don't have the answers to these questions right now, that's part of what we can help you figure out later on. So don't worry, just do your best and make a few guesses about what these mean right now. Write them in your Edmodo site and go on to step number 5. This is your final copy. It's the last step in the writing process. One of the things you need to check about is that you have indented your paragraphs. If you're writing 1 paragraph, 1 indentation. If you're writing more paragraphs, if you're writing an essay, each paragraph needs to be indented. If you're typing, it's generally 5 spaces. If you're handwriting, as you will be on the proficiency exams, we suggest about 1 finger space from the left margin. Okay, margins. If you're typing, you use 1-inch margins all around your paper. If you're handwriting, you just want to make sure that you begin every sentence except the first one of a paragraph at the edge of the left margin. And then please, in your neatest handwriting, if we can't read what you've written, we can't give it a good grade. And the people who grade the proficiency exams are very, very fussy about that. So make sure you use your neatest handwriting in your final copy. Your first drafts that's not so much of a concern, but in the final copy, please be neat. Okay, so now it's your turn. You're going to log on to edmodo.com and look for the essay topics posted there. Using those topics, you can practice writing topic sentences or even topic paragraphs. You can practice brainstorming topics. You can practice writing rough drafts from your brainstorming ideas. When you do writing practice, please post your answers in the appropriate place on Edmodo. And then please have fun. Writing can be easy.